There are two distinct traits of women that men routinely fall in love with, regardless of the woman's age, culture, or belief systems. Now, do you know what these two traits are? Well, by the end of this episode, you will. Hey, it's D-Shen here, the founder of Commitment Triggers and Shen Wade Media, where we teach you how to show up as a high-value, high-status woman whom easily inspires a deep sense of emotional commitment from men. Now, after working with and coaching hundreds and thousands of women in love, dating, and relationships, I've discovered something very important. You see, when men fall in love with a woman, there are always two traits that the woman exhibits, whether consciously or subconsciously. Now, a part of you might be wondering, surely this doesn't work for everyone, right? Surely there are exceptions. Well, as it turns out, not really. The reason why these two traits work so well to trigger men to fall in love is because they're based on evolutionary biology. Evolutionary biology. In other words, as us as a species evolved, we depended on this emotional mechanism to help us survive for hundreds of thousands of years. It's in our DNA. And by the way, don't just take my word for it. Go out there and test it out for yourself. I want you to experience firsthand how this works for you. You see, for a man to fall in love with any woman, he has to perceive that the woman is exhibiting these two traits at a very subconscious level. Because the truth is, it's not his conscious choice who he falls in love with or whether he falls in love at all, right? I mean, we all know this. We don't choose who we fall in love with. It just happens. That's because everything works way below that conscious thought level, way below our intellect. It's literally a cascade of biological and chemical reactions that's happening inside of the man that allows him to have that emotional euphoria that men go through when they're in love. But here's the caveat. For a man to go through this emotional experience, this biological experience of falling in love, you as a woman must exhibit both of these traits. So don't think one of these traits is more important than the other one. They're both equally as important. So, before I reveal to you what these two traits are, let me just tell you something. But being attractive is not one of these two traits. You see, unfortunately, I think in today's world, we as a society, we put way too much emphasis on how we look externally and way too little emphasis on how we show up to the world. What I mean by that is, have you ever known someone who is totally attractive yet still couldn't keep a relationship together? Right? Absolutely. And are there plenty of women on this planet who are naturally attractive but still being treated like a doormat? Well, you bet. All you have to do is look around. The truth is, every single day, men are falling in love with average-looking women. It's not about how you look, it's about how you show up. Now, don't get me wrong, making yourself look good is sometimes important. But the purpose of that isn't so much to attract men as it is to compete with other women, right? I'm sure you get what I'm talking about. To compete with all the other bitches out there, to feel like you're better than other women. And look, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. We all have that inside of us and it's not wrong. But to inspire a man to fall in love requires a completely different approach. And that's what I want to share with you today. You see, when a man falls in love with you, he thinks and feels that you're perfect regardless of how you look. Your physical beauty makes no difference in his emotionally driven mind. It's basically hijacking his brain. And guess what? A man in love will always find a way to commit to you because he is emotionally driven to do so. Most of the time, men are looking for ways and reasons to avoid commitment, right? But when he's in love, the exact opposite is true. All right, so enough of this lead up. So what are the two traits that I've been teasing you about? Well, the first trait is your ability to show up as a high-value, high-status woman. I'll repeat, it's your ability to show up as a high-value, high-status woman. Now, let me explain that. You see, we as human beings, we live in hierarchies. Okay, we always have this ladder of hierarchy in our subconscious mind, and we carry it around everywhere we go. Now, this isn't my wish for inequality, but you see, our brains are actually hardwired for hierarchy. We can't live without hierarchy. Now, here's the reason why. Our brains develop the need for hierarchy in order to live cohesively in a group environment. It's so that we can cooperate and work together in order to survive. It's so that we don't bash each other and kill each other before we find some food, right? You see, back in the tribal days, if you were in the wilderness by yourself, chances are you're dead. Well, unless you're Bear Grylls. I mean, he'll probably survive and make a TV series about it. But for everyone else, we needed our tribe in order to survive. So our brains literally were built to always work with other people in a ladder of hierarchy. In fact, it's not just us. This subconscious need for hierarchy exists in every single species of animal that live in groups. Think about a pride of lions or a troop of monkeys. There are always this ladder of hierarchy, right? There are always a few alpha leaders and so on and so on. It happens everywhere. And we, human beings, we're very much the same. Think about it. When we're meeting new people, what do? We instantly suss them out, right? Even when we don't mean to. We do it instinctively because we're trying to figure out where they fit on our mental projection of this ladder of hierarchy. Now, in other words, we're sussing out how high value, high status they are. See, when you're dating someone, the only thing that really matters is to present and prove your value as a woman. This is critical for you to understand if you're dating or if you want to get past that stage of dating and get into a long-term committed relationship. The only thing that really matters is to present and prove your value as a woman. And of course, men do the same to prove their value as men. And ultimately, it's those who present themselves as low value and low status who will ultimately struggle to find a partner, find love, and have the relationship they desire. Now, think about this. That is why celebrities don't seem to struggle to find a date. Now, I know what you're thinking, but I'm not a celebrity. That doesn't matter. You could be your own celebrity. You could hold yourself as a celebrity. And that's what really matters. Remember I said, it's how you show up in the world. It's all about how you hold yourself, how you show up. After all, status is only ever just a perceived thing. Status is only ever just a perceived thing. See, put Brad Pitt in a remote tribe of Amazonian hunters, I mean, there will be no perceived status unless he earns it. And look, that's really the good news, because you too can show up to be high value, high status, regardless of your age, your financial situation, your IQ, or who your friends are, if you know how. Now, I would love to get into the how, but that is beyond the scope of this particular episode. I can fill a whole weekend seminar on just the how, but I just wanted to plant this idea with you right now. In fact, we teach that transformational process of becoming high value, high status in some of our programs, and I'm sure you can check them out later on. See, when it comes to dating, it's not all about compatibility. I know a lot of people talk about compatibility. I hate it. Here's what I believe. I believe if someone's truly in love with you, they'll move mountains to make things work. When there isn't that much deep emotional attraction going on, that's when little things start to get on your nerve, like, oh gosh, what kind of shoes is he wearing? See, in dating, when people say that they're incompatible, what they're really saying is that the other person didn't really present enough value or status. But that never sounds any good, does it? So instead, they call it compatibility issues. But when it comes down to it, it's just about value and status and your ability to show up as a high value, high status woman. So I really want you to remember this. Your job is to give the perception that you are indeed highly valuable as a woman. Now, if you'd like me to teach you more about how to show up as a high value, high status woman, just let me know by leaving me a comment below. Because men fall in love with women who are high value, high status. It's not his choice, his biology dictates it. Men never fall in love with women who are low value. And in fact, that is universally true. Look, sure, sometimes men give attention to low-value women, but that's only because he wants some sexy times and he thinks it would be easy with a low-value woman. Not to mention, men routinely take advantage of, use and abuse women who present themselves as low value. So I really hope I've planted this idea with you that the skill of showing up as a high value, high status woman is paramount. But being high value, high status will only get you halfway there. If you're only high value, high status, and if that's all you are, then men will find it very difficult to connect with you. So the second piece, the second trait of women that men routinely fall in love with is this, okay? It's the trait of being vulnerable or showing up as a vulnerable woman. In other words, it's your ability to deeply connect with your own emotions so that a man can feel you, connect with you, and inspired to take care of you. It's all about learning to open and becoming comfortable in that openness. To be in love means, you have to be fully open to that experience. We can't fall in love with masks, or we can't fall in love with people's outer shells, right? So we have to go really deep. Now, in this day and age, a lot of us have been encouraged to push down our emotions and make them wrong. I mean, the more masculine your job or your career is, the more you're encouraged this way. Not to mention, we're fed this message of, you could be a strong woman, take care of yourself, you don't need a man. And as much as that is true in a certain context, it is the very thing that makes some women take it too far and ending up rejecting her own femininity and vulnerability. And if your vulnerability isn't there, let me tell you, if your vulnerability isn't there, what is a man supposed to take care of? What would be the emotional reason for him to invest his energy and time with you? How is he ever going to feel like a man in that relationship? Think about that. See, if there are no compelling reasons for a man to stay in a relationship, then chances are he's gone. A man is compelled to take care of you and devote himself to you because of your vulnerability, You see, it's an invitation for men to offer his presence. It's a gift to him. It gives him the permission to protect you and take care of you. It makes him feel alive. It gives him purpose. Your ability to feel your emotions and express your emotions are the very reason why men want to commit to you and take care of you. But unfortunately, most people have that false idea that vulnerability is weak. Well, let me tell you this. There is nothing weak about opening yourself up to your emotions. There's nothing weak about being courageous enough to face your feelings and to acknowledge your feelings. See, being vulnerable isn't about being needy. They are very different things. Neediness is in fact an expression of low value, and I'm sure you know that already, right? But why is it a sign of low value? Because it's about trying to take value from the people around you and from the world. Neediness is about value extraction. It's about needing and expecting the presence of a man. Whereas vulnerability, on the other hand, true vulnerability, is an expression of high value. It's value creation. It's about creating and inspiring the desire for a man to be there and want to give you his presence. It's about inspiring that. But firstly, you have to get in touch with your own emotions. Give your emotions space and time to surface so that you can experience them. They are here to serve you. Your emotions are here to serve you, even though sometimes they can be scary. And once you can truly face your own emotions, once you can see it and look at it, then you can truly connect with a man on the deepest level and create that emotional bond that even soulmates are envious of. So, if you want a man to fall deeply in love with you, focus on these two traits. The skill of showing up as a high value, high status woman, and your ability to express your vulnerability in order to connect on a deep emotional level. If you don't remember anything I say, remember these two things, and I promise you they'll take you a long way. In fact, we teach you 4 weeks worth of this in our Commitment Control 2 program, and I guarantee it will shift your outlook and mindset about men, dating, and commitment. And look, if you found this video useful, then you probably want to learn more. Now, we currently have our Commitment Masterclass up and running. So if you haven't taken it, it's a great idea. It's 100% free for you to take. There is a ton of great insights that I promise will change the way you see men, you see commitment, and how you should interact with men. And look, make sure you subscribe somehow on this page so that I can keep you updated. I have a lot of valuable insights that I want to share with you, a lot of exercises, trainings to be released very soon. Now, my guess is that there are certain things you want to learn about men that you currently don't understand yet. After all, you don't have that dreaded Y chromosome, right? I mean, it's that Y chromosome that screws everybody up. Well, over the years, I've realized that there are 5 things that every woman ought to know about men, love, and sex. 5 fundamental truths. Now, if you don't know them or don't understand the implications of them, then I can guarantee pain. Not that I want you to have pain, but sometimes we can either have the understanding or the pain, right? So you have to choose. These 5 fundamental truths will shift that for you. So if you want to know what these are, stay tuned and stay subscribed, because that's exactly what I'll be covering in the next episode of Commitment Triggers. Now, if you haven't signed up to my newsletter or email list, this is a good time to do so. Head over to commitmenttriggers.com. That is commitmenttriggers.com. So now, I want you to do some reflection and leave a comment below to share it with us. What are some of the key insights that you've taken away from this particular episode? What will becoming high value, high status, and yet vulnerable mean to you and your love life? How is this going to help you in the future? And until next time, make sure you look after yourself. Give yourself the resources you need so that you too can show up as a high value, high status woman that you were meant to be. All right, this is D Shen from Commitment Triggers. I'll talk to you real soon.